And the grief is the most painful grief I've ever experienced. And you can't take it back. There are no do-overs. And we need to stop telling these young women, oh, you've got plenty of time, prioritize your career, because this is the result. This is the result of, going to college, getting a degree, prioritizing all of that, and saying you have time. And dating around, because all you're doing is learning to break up. All you're doing is learning to find flaws in people so you can discard them. And that's not good. So this is the warning. This woman is the warning to the women. If you're 20, it's fine to get married and have kids. And yes, you can be useful and helpful. You're not going to be, miserable having a family and serving that family. And if for whatever reason you're miserable in any of those situations, it's your own fault. It's your own responsibility. Being selfish will make you miserable. It really will. Serving yourself, self, really makes you miserable on the inside. It's toxic. Serving yourself is exactly what Satan wants you to do. It just is. And this is what it leads to. It's a long time until the end. Between when you can't have babies anymore and you've sort of aged out of the, wife, mother, family. It's a long time till the end of this part of life. The earth, this part of life. Where's Charlie and where's Lola? Lola is asleep in the living room. She didn't even come in here. Like, what? How am I going to be under control today? She's the boss. That's my dog, if you're new here. And then Charlie the cat, well, he wasn't here and I don't know where he's gone. So basically what I'm saying is there are a couple of slackers. And I think that reprimands are needed. But, I'm just one of the staff. So I know you guys love Lola and Charlie. So just get that out of the way right now. There's only so much I can do, right? I'm not the boss. So the way our brains work. All right, the animal kingdom is around. They must have heard me and they're like, is she doing a show without us? Okay, this is a serious topic, but you guys know that don't be offended if guys don't get offended. What am I saying? Woman brain. But don't misunderstand that when it seems like I'm making light of something or whatever, it's just my way of dealing with things that are very dark. I think it's a British thing. My father's British, and it's sort of like, it's like a dark humor type of a thing. That's how you get through the hard times, is you use humor. And so sometimes the darker it is, the more I'm, I guess, inappropriate. So yeah, if you see me smiling and we're talking about really difficult things, it's just that this is, and also focusing on Charlie and Lola, like get a dog, you guys, get a dog, get a cat. It will really help your mental health. It will really help you when you have to take care of something else that is dependent on you. It really does. And something that's happy to see you all the time and gives you peace. His company demands that he get along with the group and get rid of his individuality and his convictions. His wife likes all the shiny gadgets in her kitchen and the fancy apartment complex and the prospect of sending David and Sharon off to school, off to college. What does he want? No one seems to care. And this is all the American dream, right? But no one cares about the man in the middle of all that. And that's what we've been talking about in this series. We've been talking about Gary and his family. And it's not different from what a lot of you guys go through, and your fathers and your grandfathers and your great-grandfathers. And it's not right. It's time we call it out and expected to get along. And if you think about it during this time, 2025, think about all the times you have to not talk about a certain medical procedure from the 2020 extravaganza. You can't mention it. You can't mention your own views about it. Don't mention politics. Don't talk about religion. That never used to be a thing. You used to be able to talk about whatever because you were in your own community, in your own culture. Family, friends, extended family, all of that. You didn't have to hide who you were. You didn't have to change who you were. And that eats and eats and eats at a man. And that's what has really destroyed our society when you think about it, is the train.
For the future of gender relations. So buckle up for this dive into time, controversy, and the relentless quest for truth, one that is sure to be thought-provoking. Let's talk about it.
I'm so excited that MHD made this video, and now it's going to be a series. This is wonderful. It's great to react to all the shenanigans that the women are up to on TikTok and the things they're saying. That's important. We need to see what's going on out there and call it out for what it is. But this is so important too. Esther Vilar, it's interesting to me that she was talking about, the violence, the violent threats against her, because how can that be? How can that possibly be? I thought that, women were more gentle and feminists just want equality and women should have all the options. And yet this woman, whatever she was saying was so threatening. It tells you a lot about what the movement is. And not only that its intention is to destroy men, disenfranchise men, and break up the family, but boy, they really don't want, it isn't for women. It isn't for women. So let's get into it.
Now it's time for us to get into this and do what we gotta do, because we many.
Ahead of time, that's exactly what my dad did. He made that sacrifice. And I just, can you imagine, like, that's your whole life. You've made the decision to stay with this woman who has cheated on you. Like, for your children, out of duty, he did that. And thank God, because you know what? She would have gotten custody. She would not have improved. I would be a very different person. Good Lord. I shudder to think. But my dad held it together, and it was a gigantic sacrifice to do so. We had good times. We really did. He didn't just stay and, like, not put in every ounce of effort he could. I cannot explain to you guys what that means to me, that he did that. It was this quiet strength and this sense of duty to something greater than himself. Why don't women have that? Why don't we have that? Right? It's kind of like it's the devil's temptation. And you're sort of blinded by, like, for men especially, she's attractive, so you attribute these great things to her that aren't necessarily there, especially when she's saying all these things, and you really don't know. You haven't seen the fruits of it. You need to see the fruits of it. Go look at her fruits. So if you do want to navigate these, scary waters with all the sharks in them, you need to understand all of this. And I'm not trying to tell you, you need to do more. It's just, actually, you need to do less. Less for us, more for you. Either way, whether you want to date or you don't want to date, it's the right answer. But you've been told not to. You live in a society that tells you you're awful. So doing something for yourself and having your own agenda and everything feels like it's wrong. It's not wrong. It will serve you well. And it's actually what we want in the first place. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about all this. I literally spent hours contemplating this, and it's still very much a stream of consciousness. But with the conversation I had today and the conversations I've had with several of you, I thought, well, this is not your typical manosphere video. Hi, welcome to Feminism on Trial. So if you don't know what a woman is, you can't define what a woman is, how are you a feminist? How can you be pro-woman and also not be able to define it at the same time? It's all caving in on itself. It's ludicrous. Did they not see how insane it looks? I am woman, hear me roar, but you can't say what a woman is. And then add to that these trans women, biological men competing in female sports. Women, what are you doing? Feminists, what are you doing? I know there are some people that are, speaking out a little bit, not in the numbers they need to be. If you are pro-woman, pro-equality, you're not going to allow your sports to be completely ruined. But then, certainly does add a conundrum, because now you have to admit that a biological man is stronger, faster, etc. Now you actually have to face, well, why do we have separate sports? Why do we have female sports and men's sports? I mean, now you have to actually address the fact that the championship, World Cup female soccer team has been repeatedly beaten by high school boys. I mean, I'm fine with that. This doesn't bother me. Because I'm not trying to compete with men. I'm not trying to say we're the same and we have equal abilities. We don't, and that's okay. It doesn't mean they're better than us. I mean, sounds like feminists are awfully insecure. If you have to go around saying that anything you can do, I can do better, or at least the same, why do you have to say that? Why can't you have your own thing? So the whole thing's caving in on itself. It's eating itself. You can't define what a woman is. You're letting men, biological men, compete in female sports after, Title IX and having to push for those female sports. I remember when I was in high school and I was like, there's no girls soccer team. What's going on with that? So I was part of what got a girls soccer team at our school, because I just thought, this is insane. I can't believe there isn't one. And then I started learning about Title IX, and of course I was indoctrinated. So I was like, we must fight the power. We must stand up to this terrible injustice and get a girls soccer team. And we did, so, but now you're just going to let all that be destroyed? I mean, am I the only one on the edge of my seat? What are they going to do next? Are they going to admit that biological men have the advantage? Or I mean, where can you go from here? You backed yourself into a corner, feminists. I, for one, am enjoying it. I just wish, here's what I wish. I wish the rest of the women who they wouldn't necessarily call themselves a feminist. They're not thinking about that. They're just trying to play their sport and live their life, and they don't give much thought to this. I wish more of them would stand up and say, hey, I'm not going to play this sport. I'm not going to compete. If you're going to allow a biological man to compete, I'm boycotting this. But everyone's so afraid to be called, hateful or what have you, and it's not about that. It's not. It's about what's fair. And honestly, right now, I feel like I'm the one advocating for women's rights. How insane is that? That an anti-feminist is more pro-woman than the feminists are that are allowing all of this and can't define what a woman is. I sure as heck know what a woman is. And I'd be happy to define it. You know, I'm not afraid to. And I think if you call yourself pro-woman, you better be able to define it. You better be proud to define it. But they're the ones that have destroyed it. So that's why they can't define it anymore, because they've destroyed the definition, backed themselves into a corner. Let's wait and see what they do next. Thanks. Hit subscribe.